When everyone expected her to bow, to curtsy and leave the room, his twin boys ran straight to her, calling out the one word that shattered the silence. "Mommy?" The CEO's glass slipped from his hand, and in that moment, Ariel knew everything she buried was about to surface, even the part that could destroy them all. Ariel Simmons stood at the edge of the massive marble hallway, head lowered, clutching a tray with trembling fingers. Her uniform was crisp, her braids tied neatly back. Her silence was her armor. She'd only been working at the Lock estate for 6 days, but already she knew the rules. Don't make eye contact. Don't speak unless spoken to. And above all, never, ever get close to the children. But they made it hard. The twins, Noah and Nolan, were 5 years old, spirited, mischievous, and always whispering secrets when they thought no one was listening. They'd taken to watching Ariel every time she passed through the grand hallway, like they knew her, like they remembered. Today she was serving drinks in the sitting room, where their father, Grayson Locke, held court with board members and lawyers, CEO of Locke Argent Holdings, ruthless, rich, reclusive, the kind of man who didn't bother to remember the name of the woman washing his floors. Ariel placed a glass of whiskey beside his hand and turned to leave. That's when it happened. "Mommy?" The word pierced the air like a siren. Everything stopped. Noah had said it, loud, clear, and Nolan followed, pointing at Ariel, eyes wide and sure. "Yeah, that's her. Mommy." The room fell silent. The tray in Ariel's hand nearly slipped. Her throat tightened as dozens of eyes turned toward her. Grayson's face went pale. He stood slowly, his hand trembling as the whiskey spilled down his wrist. "What did you just say?" he asked his sons, voice low and dangerous. Ariel's knees buckled slightly. She backed up, whispering, I don't know why they said that. I've never—" But the twins had already rushed to her, wrapping their tiny arms around her legs like she was home. Grayson took 2 sharp steps forward. "Step away from my children," he ordered. Ariel froze. The warmth of the boy's arms around her ignited a forgotten ache, deep, primal, and terrifying. Noah looked up. "But Daddy, that's Mommy." Later that night, after everyone had left, after the boys had been distracted and pulled away, Ariel was called into the study. Grayson stood behind his desk, arms crossed. His jaw was tight, eyes sharp. "You'll explain yourself," he said. "There's nothing to explain," Ariel replied, barely holding back the tremble in her voice. "They're children. They don't probably anything," he snapped. "My boys don't even remember their mother. She died during childbirth. There's no way they should look at you and say that word." Ariel swallowed hard. "Sir, I would never do anything to confuse them." But Grayson wasn't listening. He was staring at her, like trying to dig through her face to find something hidden. "Where are you from?" he asked. "Atlanta. Do you have children?" The question was a punch to the gut. She hesitated. "No." Grayson narrowed his eyes. "You just hesitated." "I didn't. No. I don't." But that wasn't true. Not really. Not if you count the 2 babies that were ripped from her arms 5 years ago. Not if you count the days she spent praying for them in the hospital. Not if you count the name that slipped from Nolan's lips like it never left him. Back in her small maid's quarters, Ariel sat on her bed, holding the only photo she still had, a wrinkled, blurry image of 2 newborns swaddled in pink and blue. A nurse had taken it in secret years ago before everything went wrong. She thought she buried that part of her life. She thought she'd never see them again. But now, they had seen her, and they remembered. If this story already has your heart racing or breaking, just imagine what's still coming. Don't watch in silence. Hit that subscribe button to support stories that actually move you. The next morning, Ariel woke before sunrise. Her eyes burned, her throat raw. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard it again. "Mommy." She touched her chest, trying to still her heart. It didn't work. Downstairs, the mansion moved with eerie quiet. The kitchen buzzed as staff whispered about the Maid incident. No one dared say it to her face, but the stairs, they said enough. Carmen, the head housekeeper, pulled her aside. "You better fix whatever spell you've cast on those kids, Ariel. Mr. Locke doesn't like surprises." "I didn't cast anything," Ariel replied softly. "I didn't do anything." Carmen squinted at her, lowering her voice. "Well, something ain't right. Those boys, they look at you like you hung the moon." Ariel looked away, afraid Carmen might see the truth in her eyes. In his private office, Grayson stared blankly at his laptop. He hadn't typed a word in over an hour. A half-drunk espresso sat cold beside him. He replayed the moment over and over again. That's Mommy. His sons weren't prone to fantasy. Nolan had his mother's eyes, the same ones that closed forever after delivery, or so he'd believed. But now there was this woman, Ariel, quiet, focused, and when she'd looked at the boys yesterday, something cracked on her face, a flicker of recognition. Or was it guilt? He rubbed his temples. He'd paid for everything, the best doctors, the most discreet adoption process. He buried that past so deep it could never resurface. And yet, later that afternoon, Ariel carried a tray of fruit to the playroom. She tried to avoid eye contact, but Noah saw her first and ran full speed. "Mommy!" She dropped the tray. Oranges rolled across the floor. "Ariel," she whispered. "My name is Ariel." Noah frowned. "But you smell like Mommy." "I remember." Ariel knelt. Her voice trembled. "You were just a baby." Nolan joined them, resting his head on her shoulder. "Can you stay with us today?" Tears threatened. She blinked fast. "I'm not allowed. Your dad—" "He doesn't play with us anyway," Nolan said, blunt as always. "You feel like home." Those 4 words shattered her. You feel like home. She didn't notice Grayson standing in the doorway. He had seen everything. The twins wrapped around her, her hands shaking as she held them close. The tears she tried to hide. And something clicked. He didn't want to believe it, but he couldn't deny it anymore. That connection wasn't imagined. It was real. It was blood. He cleared his throat loudly. Ariel stood up so fast, she almost lost her balance. "I'd like to speak with you now," he said sharply. They stood in the same study again, the same distance between them, only now the air was heavier. "You need to leave," Grayson said coldly. Ariel stared. "Leave?" "You're confusing them." I didn't say a word. "No," he said, stepping forward, "but your face did. Your touch. Your presence." Ariel swallowed hard. "They came to me. I didn't ask for this." "But you want it, don't you?" His voice cracked with accusation. "You want them to remember." Ariel's lip trembled, but she lifted her chin. "Would that be so terrible?" His eyes flashed. "You think I don't have regrets?" he whispered. "You think I haven't spent every day since—" He cut himself off. Ariel stepped forward. "Then tell me the truth, Grayson. Tell me what you did." He looked away. And she knew. She knew. He had taken them from her. At this point, what do you think he should do? Follow his pride or follow his heart? Drop your prediction in the comments. Don't just watch. Feel this story with us. Ariel spent the next 2 days in silence. She kept her head down, avoided the children, and followed Carmen's instructions like her job depended on it, because it did. The twins asked for her constantly. "Where's Ariel? Can she tuck us in? Why won't she talk to us anymore?" Their little voices stabbed at her, but she forced herself to stay away. She couldn't afford to lose control again. One mistake, one misplaced emotion, and Grayson would have her gone without a second thought. Grayson, meanwhile, buried himself in work. Board meetings, investor calls, expansion plans, anything to distract him from the fact that his sons, his whole life, might have been built on a lie. He wanted to demand proof, DNA, legal records, hospital files. But deep down, he didn't want confirmation. Because if it was true, if Ariel was their mother, then he'd stolen more than just children. He'd stolen her entire life. That night, as the twins slept, Grayson stood outside their bedroom door, listening. Nolan was whispering. "She looked sad, didn't she?" "Yeah," Noah answered. "Like when you want to cry but you don't, 'cause someone told you not to." Grayson's heart cracked. He stepped back and walked downstairs in silence. In the dim staff hallway, Ariel was folding linen when he appeared. "I need a word," he said. Ariel didn't look up. "I have chores to finish." He stepped closer. "I said now." Reluctantly, she followed him to the private study again. Same room, same silence. Only now, the distance between them was different, tighter, angrier. Grayson sat down, gesturing toward the chair across from him. "Do you want to tell me the truth now? Or shall I fire you and find out on my own?" Ariel sat stiffly. "What truth would you like? That I cry myself to sleep wondering if the twins remember the lullabies I used to hum? That I took this job knowing they might be here but still prayed I was wrong?" He flinched. "I had no choice," he said quietly. "There's always a choice," she snapped. "No," he growled, standing up. "There wasn't. Your file said you died, Ariel. You flatlined. The hospital told me the twins were alone. I woke up hours later in a different wing, no visitors, no names, just a nurse saying the babies were gone. I didn't know." "You didn't ask?" Her voice cracked. Silence fell between them like a thunderclap. She stood to leave, but his voice stopped her. "You lied," he said. "You told me you didn't have children." She turned slowly. "I don't, Grayson. Not anymore." That broke him, because he realized then she didn't say it in bitterness, she said it in grief. Back in her room, Ariel pulled out the folded paper from beneath her pillow. It was the discharge form from the hospital, still stained with her tears from years ago. No names, no signatures, just a silent farewell to the babies she never got to hold. Now, they were calling her Mommy. But it didn't matter, because the man who held all the power refused to see her as anything but the help. The next morning, a new maid had arrived, younger, prettier, unbothered. Ariel saw the writing on the wall. She was being replaced, but not before she saw them one last time. She peeked into the playroom. The twins were painting. Nolan looked up. "Ariel?" He smiled. She smiled softly. "Hi, baby." "Are you coming back tomorrow?" Noah asked. Her throat tightened. "Maybe." "You promise?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know how. If you've made it this far, that means this story is pulling something real out of you. Subscribe now, not just for the next episode, but for every soul-stirring story we tell. 2 days later, a storm hit the East Coast like a tantrum from heaven. Fierce winds, flooded streets, and downed power lines brought half the city to a halt. The Locke mansion was no exception. By late afternoon, the generator failed. Wi-Fi was out. All staff were dismissed early, except Ariel. Carmen pulled her aside. "Mr. Locke says to stay. Kids are getting anxious, and he doesn't want them alone tonight." Ariel blinked. "Alone with him, you mean?" Carmen smirked. "Exactly." By 7 p.m., rain pounded against the windows like a warning. The twins were scared. Lightning cracked the sky, and both boys clung to Ariel's legs. "Can you stay in our room tonight?" Noah whispered. Ariel glanced at Grayson, who stood nearby, silent in the doorway. He nodded once. "Just until they fall asleep." So she stayed, told them stories in the dark, held their little hands until their breathing slowed into sleep. And when she stood to leave, she found him still watching her. "You're good with them," he murmured. She walked past him into the hallway. "I've had practice." Grayson followed. "Let's talk," he said. They sat in the dim kitchen, lit only by flickering candles. The storm roared outside, but inside, everything felt still. "You know," he began, "I used to dream about her. The mother they never had." Ariel glanced at him. "I'd imagine what she'd be like," he continued. "Kind, gentle, strong. Someone who could handle Nolan's moods and Noah's energy." He looked up. "They found her. In you." Ariel didn't know what to say. So she said nothing. Grayson leaned forward. "Why didn't you come looking sooner?" "I did," she said quietly. For months. But I had no name, no birth certificate, no answers. Just a hospital that called me unfit and a court system that refused to help a single black woman with no money. His face fell. I lost everything. And when I stopped looking, it wasn't because I stopped caring. It was because no one was listening. Grayson's hand curled into a fist on the table. I didn't know, he said again. You didn't want to know, she replied. You had what you wanted. Twin sons, no strings, no complications. He flinched. I was told they had no one, that the mother died during surgery. Then maybe you should have asked why no one claimed them. Thunder rolled overhead. The lights flickered. A vase tipped and shattered on the floor. Neither moved. Do you want them back? He asked suddenly. Ariel looked up, heart in her throat. They're not a thing to take back, Grayson. They're my babies. I just wanted to know they were safe. And now that you know? I don't know. Silence stretched. Then, softly. I hate you, she said. I know, he whispered. But when he looked at her, really looked, he didn't see hatred. He saw grief, and maybe even something else, something fragile. Later that night, as they passed each other in the hall, he stopped her. Thank you for staying. Ariel nodded. They're my world. They're mine too. A beat. Then maybe, she said, we finally have something in common. He didn't smile, but something in his shoulders eased. Back in her room, Ariel sat on the edge of her bed, soaked in candlelight and confusion. How did this happen? How did she go from Maid to maybe? From enemy to something else? She looked at the picture under her pillow again. But tonight, for the first time, she didn't cry. The storm passed, but the damage lingered, not just to the roads, but to the fragile balance between Ariel and Grayson. The silence between them now held a weight, something unsaid, something waiting. The twins still clung to her more than ever, and for once Grayson didn't stop them. But Ariel knew better. Kindness from powerful men is always temporary. On the third day after the storm, the doorbell rang. It was a courier, a manila envelope. Grayson signed for it, glanced at the sender, then froze. North Haven General Hospital. The past had arrived. In ink. He sat in his office, envelope trembling in his hands. He shouldn't open it. He had to. Inside, birth records, admission files, incident reports. He skimmed until he found it. Patient, Ariel Simmons. She'd been admitted under stress. No family listed. No insurance. A note scribbled in the margin. Disoriented, in and out of consciousness. No emergency contact. Transferred after complications. Discharged 72 hours post-delivery. Mother never held infants. His fingers curled around the paper. A tremor ran through him. There was more. A handwritten nurse's log. Mother asked for her babies repeatedly, told she would see them after recovery. But before clearance, the children were moved to neonatal. Hospital filed abandonment notice within 48 Hortichus Social Services alerted. Adoption requested by private family. He turned the page, and there it was. Adoptive party, Grayson Locke, private donor. His breath left him like a punch to the ribs. He hadn't known. Not like this. His lawyer had made the arrangements. Silent, clean, no emotional mess, no loose ends. But this was theft. He found her in the greenhouse, watering plants with the twins helping her, still in pajamas. Out, he said, voice hollow. Ariel looked up. What? Boys, go with Carla. The twins hesitated. Nolan frowned. Why are you mad at Ariel? Go, he snapped. The boys left reluctantly. Ariel straightened. What is it? He held out the paper. She took it, read slowly, until her knees buckled. She sat hard on the stone bench. Her hand flew to her mouth. You didn't know, she whispered. He shook his head. I swear. I thought. I was told their mother had died. No one said anything else. Ariel laughed, bitter and small. So you just took them? No questions, no names, just took them? I was trying to build a life. I wasn't trying to destroy yours." Tears streamed down her cheeks now. "You didn't even look for me. I didn't know you existed." "And now?" she asked. He hesitated. "I don't know what to do," he admitted. "I love them. They're mine. But they were yours first." She stood up, chest heaving. "They were never not mine." Later that night, Grayson watched her from the hallway as she tucked the twins in. She didn't sing. She just sat between them, stroking their hair in the dark. They didn't ask questions tonight, but their arms found her shoulders like magnets. He turned away, back to the study. Sat in the dark. The hospital file lay open on the desk. The truth was out, and now it was demanding a choice. The next morning, Ariel stood by the gate, suitcase in hand. Carmen rushed to her. "You're leaving?" "I have to." "Did he fire you?" "No," she said softly. "But if I stay, I might break." "Will you come back?" Ariel's eyes burned. "Only if he asks me as their mother, and not as his maid." Grayson watched from the upstairs window as the car pulled away. He didn't stop her, because he didn't know how to fix what he broke before he even knew her name. But the moment the car vanished, he felt it. A hole, a crack, not just in the house, but in him. Now that the truth is out, what should Grayson do next? Should he fight to keep the boys, or give them back to the woman they never forgot? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is The Turning Point. 4 days passed. The mansion was quieter without Ariel. Not silent. The twins still played, still ran through the halls, but the laughter sounded thinner, like something important had gone missing. Grayson noticed it in the little things. Nolan's paintings had no color. Noah stopped asking to be read to at night. Neither boy smiled as often. And Grayson? He'd never realized how empty his home felt, until someone who wasn't supposed to belong walked out and took the warmth with her. On the 5th night, Nolan asked, "Is Ariel coming back?" Grayson paused. "I don't know." Noah looked up, face serious. "Did she leave because of you?" Grayson sat down beside them, swallowing hard. "Maybe. I made some mistakes." "Can you say sorry?" Nolan asked. "It's not always that simple." "But it should be," Noah said. "If you say sorry and you mean it, sometimes that's all someone needs." Grayson looked at them, really looked, and realized they didn't just miss her, they needed her. The next morning he drove to the other side of town. The houses were smaller, tighter, but neat. He found her building easily. The address was written on the back of the hospital report, not that he'd planned to use it, until now. He stood outside her apartment door, rain soaking through his coat. He knocked. A pause. Then the door cracked open. Ariel, eyes tired, hair loose. A child's drawing pinned behind her on the wall. A twin heart, split down the middle. She didn't look surprised to see him, just tired. "I don't have anything left to say," she whispered. "Then just listen." They sat at the small kitchen table, a chipped mug of tea between them. Grayson took out the paper. The drawing. 2 stick-figure boys, one labeled Noah, the other Nolan. In between them, a woman in a dress. "Mommy Ari." "They made this yesterday," he said. "Carla found it under their bed." Ariel traced her fingers over the crayon lines. "I missed 5 years of drawings. You shouldn't have." "I did." Grayson leaned forward. "I know sorry isn't enough. I know that saying I didn't know doesn't undo what happened." He looked her in the eye. "But if you'll let me, I'd like to make it right." She blinked. "You want to give them back?" His breath caught. "I want to do what's best for them." Her voice was small. "And what do you think that is?" He hesitated. Then, "You." They sat in silence. Then she said, "They're good kids." "They are." She looked up. "You raised them well." Something cracked in him. No one had ever said that before. No one had acknowledged how hard it had been, being a father, alone, full of fear and guilt and uncertainty. "Thank you," he said softly. They sat there, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as two broken people trying to rebuild something human. Later that afternoon, he brought her back, not as a maid, not as a guest, just Ariel. The twins screamed when they saw her, ran so fast they nearly knocked her over. "Mommy, Ari!" she laughed, a sound that hadn't escaped her in years. It echoed off the marble wrapped around the corners of the mansion and settled deep into its walls like sunlight. Grayson watched from the doorway, and for a moment he let himself believe. Maybe there was still time to fix this. That night they had dinner together, all 5 of them. Grayson told the boys stories of when they were babies. Ariel filled in the blanks with the parts she remembered, the cravings, the kicks, the lullabies she hummed to herself in the hospital bed. It felt like a family. It felt right. But deep inside Ariel's heart, something whispered, "This won't last," because pain like theirs doesn't leave quietly. 3 days passed. Ariel stayed at the mansion, not as a maid, not as a guest, just there. The twins were glowing, painting with her, reading, even eating without complaint. The house was warmer. Grayson felt it too, the change. Every time he passed the hallway and heard them laughing, something unfamiliar stirred in his chest. Hope. Maybe. Just maybe. They could find a way to do this together. Until he got the call. It came from his lawyer. "About the adoption paperwork, sir. We've run into a hiccup." Grayson's heart sank. "What kind of hiccup?" "Well," the man hesitated. "Technically, if the birth mother is alive, which she clearly is, the adoption can be challenged. And reversed." Grayson froze. "Reversed?" "Yes. If she files a case, you could lose the boys completely. Unless what? You establish sole parental custody. First." That night after dinner, Ariel found him in the study, staring at old photo albums, the boys in diapers, first steps, first teeth, all moments she'd missed. "Why didn't you tell me they had your smile?" she whispered, standing behind him. He looked up. There was guilt in his eyes. She stepped closer. "Something's wrong." He closed the book. "We're fine." "Don't lie." He stood. "It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." He turned to her, voice tight. "I'm trying to protect them." "From me?" "No, from everything. From instability, from courtrooms, from a world that doesn't care who gave birth to who, only what's legally binding." Ariel blinked. "What are you saying?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a thick manila envelope. Inside, legal documents, custody papers, petitions, a restraining clause. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. "You were going to file for sole custody?" she whispered. "I haven't. Not yet." "Not yet?" "I just needed options. In case things—" "In case what?" "In case I change my mind. Take them away." Her voice cracked. "Is that how little you trust me?" Grayson's mouth opened, but no words came. "I thought we were building something," she said, tears slipping now. "I thought maybe there was a chance we could raise them together." "So did I," he said, "until my lawyer reminded me the courts don't care about feelings. They care about paperwork, about who's already been there." "And you think I haven't been there?" she whispered. "I've been there every day, in pain, in silence, in shame. Just because I wasn't allowed to raise them doesn't mean I wasn't already their mother." Grayson reached for her hand. "Ari," she pulled back. "I'm leaving." "No, please." "You haven't changed," she said, backing toward the door. "You're still the man who made decisions for everyone else and called it love." That night, she packed her things again. No fanfare, no hugs. The twins cried when she told them. "You said you'd stay," Nolan said, voice breaking. "I know, baby," she whispered, wiping his tears. "Is it Daddy's fault?" She didn't answer, because it didn't matter anymore. The one man who could have stood beside her had stood in her way instead. Grayson watched her walk out again. Only this time, the door didn't close softly. It slammed, and with it, the future he never realized he wanted collapsed. Have you ever trusted someone only to realize they were preparing to betray you just in case? What would you do if you were Ariel? Walk away or fight? Drop your truth in the comments. We're all feeling this one. It had been 4 days since Ariel left the mansion. 4 days of cold breakfasts, unmade beds, quiet tears under covers. The twins asked about her every morning, and Grayson had no answers. Because truthfully, he didn't even have answers for himself. He tried to throw himself into work, reports, memos, investor calls. But even at his desk, her voice echoed, "You haven't changed. You're still the man who made decisions for everyone else and called it love." He stared out the window of his office. Was she right? Had he tried to protect everyone, only to control the outcome? He'd built his life on logic, planning, power. But Ariel didn't need his protection. She needed his trust. And he had failed her again. Across town, in a tiny apartment lit by a soft morning sun, Ariel sat with a piece of paper in her lap. A court notice, filed, but unsigned. The paperwork Grayson almost submitted. It was slipped under her door 2 days ago by Carmen with a note, "You should see what he was planning." She hadn't cried. Not at first. But today she did. Not just for herself, but for the little boys she had to walk away from twice. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something in her gut told her to pick up. "Hello?" A small voice. "Mommy?" Her heart stopped. "Noah." "We used Daddy's phone. He's asleep." Nolan's voice came through next. "Can you come back now, please?" Her breath caught. I don't know if I can, baby." "Why?" "Because Daddy and I aren't sure how to be a family." Noah said, "But we're a family, and you said families try again." Silence. Then Nolan whispered, "We left you a picture, under the tree in the garden. If you find it, maybe that means you'll come back." Click. Call ended. That afternoon, she went back to the mansion, not to stay, just to see the tree. It stood where it always had, big, crooked, stubborn. The twins used to play there. She knelt in the grass and saw it, a folded paper, childish handwriting. "If you come back, we'll be your forever." Her hand covered her mouth as she wept. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her until it was too late. "I didn't send them," Grayson said. She stood, quickly wiping her eyes. "I figured. I didn't file the papers," he added. "I know. I wanted to, but I couldn't, because they deserve more than one of us." She looked up. "Do you mean it?" He nodded, chest rising and falling. "I don't want to control anything anymore. I just want to do right by them, and by you." Her voice broke. "Then show me." He reached into his coat and pulled out a different folder. Inside, joint custody form, signed, dated. Hers was the only signature missing. "No tricks," he said. "No lawyer games. Just a father and a mother, trying." She stared at the paper, then at him, then at the tree, then back at him, and for the first time she believed him. That night, the twins ran into her arms so hard they knocked her to the floor. All 4 of them, tangled up in the garden, laughing and crying under the stars. Grayson watched from a few feet away, hands in his pockets, heart finally unclenched. He didn't step in. Not yet. This was her moment, and for once, he knew that was exactly how it should be. 3 weeks later, the Lock Mansion had changed, not in its wealth or structure, but in its soul. The sound of footsteps running down the stairs was no longer followed by silence, but by laughter. Noah and Nolan raced through the halls with paint on their hands, Ariel trailing behind with a towel and a mock-scolding voice. "Don't you dare touch those curtains." Grayson peeked from his office and smirked. "Looks like someone finally took over the house." Ariel rolled her eyes at him. "Maybe if their father set some rules, don't look at me," he said, holding up his hands. "You're the boss now." They weren't perfect, but they were healing. Every day, a little more trust, a little more patience. Ariel didn't move back in fully. Not yet. She stayed weekends, school drop-offs, bedtime stories. Grayson never rushed her. He let her lead, and in doing so, he finally earned her heart. One evening, the family sat under the tree in the backyard. Ariel braided Nolan's hair while Noah showed Grayson his crayon art. It was a drawing of the 5 of them, Daddy, Mommy Ari, the twins, and a tiny dog they hadn't even gotten yet. "Why is the dog named Butterscotch?" Grayson asked. "Because that's what she smells like," Noah said, as if it were obvious. Ariel laughed. "Looks like we're getting a dog." Grayson raised an eyebrow. "We?" She smiled. "Well, I'm not going anywhere." As the sun set and the kids nodded off in Ariel's lap, Grayson looked at her. Really looked. "You changed everything," he said. "I didn't," she replied softly. "They did." Grayson leaned in. "You gave me a second chance. With them. With you." She looked down, brushing Nolan's curls. "You gave it to yourself." He swallowed. Do you think they'll ever forgive me? For keeping them from you all these years?" Ariel reached out, took his hand. "They already did," she whispered. "They didn't call me Mommy because they remembered. They called me that because it's who I am. Love doesn't forget, even when people do." The boys stirred. Nolan looked up sleepily, voice barely above a whisper. "Mommy." The word still made her heart pause, still made her want to cry. "Yes, baby." "Will you be here tomorrow?" Ariel kissed his forehead. "Every tomorrow." Grayson watched as both boys curled back into her side, safe. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, Ariel woke to the smell of pancakes and chaos. The twins had attempted breakfast. The kitchen was a disaster, and in the middle of it all was Grayson, flipping burnt pancakes and laughing harder than she'd ever seen. "Don't panic," he said as she entered. "We've got this under control." Clearly, he handed her a cup of coffee, her favorite blend, and taped to the mug was a note written in Nolan's handwriting. "Can you be our mommy forever?" Tears welled up again, but this time they were the good kind, the healing kind, the it's finally okay kind. She looked at Grayson, and for the first time since the day she lost them, she said it out loud, with no fear, no hesitation, no heartbreak in her voice. "Yes, I'm your mommy." Do you believe true love can survive, even after being tested this hard? Can broken families become whole again? Share your heart in the comments. Someone out there needs your story too.